So as you may have heard, and we heard it a little bit in the mayor's speech as well, which is around climate and looking after the environment and the importance of green spaces to create healthier cities, which is not always the easiest thing to do. So in this next session, which is all about green cities, I'll be asking two cities who've been doing a really great job at creating a really green environment to tell us a bit about how they're doing it, and then I'll be interrogating them maybe just tiny little bit to go a little bit, dig in there, go a little bit deeper. So, gentlemen, if you don't mind joining me on stage, we've got the mayor of Tallinn, Estonia. Tallinn is the Green Capital of Europe 2023, Mihhail Kõlvart. And I'll also be joined by the head of the mayor's office from Podgorica, which is ranked one of the top greenest cities in Europe in the category of urban green areas by the European Environmental Agency in February 2022, Nikola Mitrović. Gentlemen, can you please join me on stage? Take this. So, I think before we dive into it, it'd be very useful to hear, where have all my questions gone? What's happened here? It's very annoying. Okay, before we dive into it, it'd be really useful to hear a little bit more about the interventions that you're doing before, because otherwise people have no context, do they? I've said they're doing great things with green cities, but people will have no context. So, Mihhail, do you mind starting and telling us a little bit more about the interventions that you've got?
Okay, thank you and good morning. First of all, I would like to thank my colleague Remigius for the invitation for this great event and for your speech. I'm very motivated now after your speech. So you mentioned our small competition on the field of car sharing. So you think you are first, maybe we think that we are on the first place. Hard to say, but what I see now here, that I have bigger microphones than you. So actually, your colleagues said that they will give me a microphone and I don't have to do anything. I asked, but do I have to speak something? Yes, you had a question, sorry.
There was a question in there somewhere. The competition has started already. It's fierce here. So can you tell us a little bit about the interventions that you've been doing in terms of making the city greener?
So, as I understand, if I'm here, so it means that our city is quite successful. So, and your question is, what is the key of our success? So we have some keys, and maybe I describe some of them. The first one, the first key, if you feel or if you think that you are successful, or maybe you are not enough successful, but you still want to be awarded, you have to create this award. So Tallinn is a European Green Capital 2023, but by accident, the title of European Green Capital was created and initiated in Tallinn.
Oh, accidentally?
Yes, 2006, and after 17 years, so we received it by ourselves also. So next key, you have to be unique. So you have to be special. And we have in Tallinn something very special, and we can talk about it in every conference, I believe that during the last 10 years. So Tallinn is the first city, first capital, not only Europe, but I believe in the world, with free public transportation from 2013. And the last 10 years, we only talk about the free public transportation in Tallinn. And maybe the third one, it's a small secret. Don't tell about to anyone. So actually, we are not successful. we are not enough green, we don't have enough projects, and I cannot say that our developing is how to say, is fast. Yes, not fast. Because of different reasons, because of the same historical background as Lithuanian and Vilnius, because we don't have enough resources and maybe also enough knowledge for it, but we want to be green. And this is our wish and our energy, this is our main resource. So it means that actually the title of European Green Capital, this is not aim and wasn't aim for us. This is a tool, instrument, and motivation. And I remember my speech before we received this title, and I said very honestly, actually we feel that we are not ready, but we want to be. And I think we know how to do it. To do it with our friends, our partners in Tallinn, but in Europe also.
I love that you said that, because I think people can see the achievement of a title as the end result in and of itself. And so to hear you say, we see it as a tool that motivates us to go yet further, it's like a confirmation that regardless of how far a city's come, we've still got a climate crisis on our hands, and so it does make sense that we go a little bit further and continue to push that. Nikola, I know there's loads of stuff that you're doing in Podgorica. In particular, you've got subsidized bikes. How do you reduce pollution by 80% with vehicles? I mean, when I saw that number in and of itself, I thought, this is a man we need to speak to.
Well, we didn't reduce the pollution in that amount, but that was the motorization rate, which was has a quite moderate number in Podgorica, but 80% of motorized vehicles are passenger cars, and that was a big challenge for us. We wanted to fight that, and the ways we did it was that we modernized public transport, which wasn't even private at all. In Podgorica, until recently, we purchased 45 new and modern and fully equipped buses. And 45 may seem like a modest number, but it's quite enough for the city of our size and our road infrastructure. Also, we, as you mentioned, subsidized the purchase of more than 1,700 bicycles and electronic scooters and built 30 kilometers of new bike trails. So those were the ways we actually fought and overcame those challenges, because we gave our people other ways of transportation, and they could use bikes, they could walk to work, because Podgorica, as I said, isn't that big of a city, so there's not objective need to use passenger cars everywhere. Also, we we fought air pollution by creating new green surfaces, and we pride ourselves in doing so. We created more than 230,000 square meters of green surfaces, planted among more than 10,000 trees in the course of past 4 years. Also, we created one of the largest urban gardens in the region, and that's what we are very proud of, because now the kindergarten kids and school kids can go there with their teachers and learn about environmental protection. Also, there's 20 new parks, more than 50 children playgrounds, and the crown of our achievements was, as you mentioned in the introduction, that European agency ranked us among 5 greenest cities in Europe. So yeah, now when we get the chance to know each other, we are interested in that award that's in Tallinn, that capital, green capital of Europe. So have us in mind in future.
I'd be careful with that. He's very competitive, if you hadn't noticed.
Yeah, I see.
So I want to kind of take it a few steps up. in terms of why do we need green initiatives? I mean, some would argue, you might have heard this term going around at the moment about a cost of living crisis. I don't know if you've heard it outside of, we hear it all the time in London. So some might think about these green initiatives in the current landscape as being a little bit of a luxury. What would you say to that? Do you think it's still, why is it important that we still continue to focus on implementing initiatives that make the cities greener?
Okay. I think I can explain you what does it mean luxury. Luxury when you build new bicycle lines or new tram line, as we do now in Tallinn, and you have terrible traffic jam, everyone hates you in your city, and you, in the same year you have elections. This is luxury, actually. But if you talk seriously, so I have one number. So as I said, in Tallinn we have free public transportation. So for all people in Tallinn, buses, trams are free of charge. And public transportation in Tallinn is quite popular. But during the COVID, people started to buy cars, I think everywhere in the world. And we saw that number of people who use the public transportation decreased. But now, during 1 year, we understand why, because of energy crisis. The number of people who use public transportation and using of public transportation increasing 30%. During 1 year, 30%. And we understand this is not luxury, this is a reality, actually. Because people understand that if you use public transportation, you don't use cars, so it means money. What you don't use for cars. And this is very important for people now. But of course, our hope, some changes in mindset, that in the future people will use more public transportation because they understand what is important for environment also. And for us it's also very important that we use for public transportation the energy from the renewable sources. So our public transportation is not only free, but it is also green.
So I really like the it's free and it's green, but it's also that mindset shift, which is it's not just about, in terms of the messaging to the public and how the public engage with it, it's not just that it's green, it's that it's green and it's actually also better for your pocket. Nikola, what would you say?
Well, sure. It is an investment in our livelihood and livelihood of future generations. So, in addition, it saves money on the long run by reducing energy consumption, by promoting sustainable development, and what Mayor of Tallinn mentioned, the change of mindset. And we had the same problem with new bike trails. And I remember a few months ago we were in Brussels, and Mayor of Brussels talked to our mayor, and he said, when we started building new bike trails, people were telling me, hey, this is not Amsterdam. So we really hope that new bike trails in our city, they are accepted now. There are far more bike users and electronic scooter users. We even started, I said many of the cities had it even a few years ago, but we started with electric scooter sharing, bike sharing. We hope that we'll have car sharing soon. So the changing of mindset is the hardest part, but we hope that we have been the city administration that took responsibility for these changes and pioneered them in Montenegro, which is a relatively young country. And we hope our initiatives will take root and make for a better future and greener Podgorica.
So kind of getting into it a little bit deeper, green city initiatives aren't just a single department. It kind of covers a vast array of departments. It can be private sector, it can be public sector. You can't just go and rip a road up and just, kind of roll with it immediately. We've got parks, we've got roads, we've got electric vehicles, scooters, various different sectors and departments that you're looking at. So how should cities decide where to start? It's not a small project. Nikola, how did you guys decide where to start and where to focus your efforts and energies?
Well, I guess every city administration has its own urgent needs or burning priorities, to say so. We started by, as I mentioned, by huge traffic jams, air pollution. How can we solve this? And those were the solutions. So new green surfaces, new public transportation, new bike, other means of transportation means less traffic jams, less air pollution. So that was our deal. What we have in plan even is to subsidize the purchase of air conditioners, because there's a lot of people in Podgorica that are heating on wood. So those are some of our plans, and but we analyzed what are our biggest issues and we addressed them, and by far we did well. So I'm hoping we'll continue.
So starting with looking at your particular city and saying, what are the biggest issues that we're facing? How did you do it different in Tallinn in terms of how you worked out where to focus your efforts and energies on green initiatives?
I believe that we need to have two understandings. First understanding that everything in this world connected to everything. So it means that if you talk about the green development, green transition, we cannot say about the priorities. We have to say about the system. Different fields in the same time, and to understand how those fields are connected. And second understanding is quite simple, that everything starting from the idea. So we try to describe our idea in our documents, strategy documents, Tallinn 2035, and preparing and creating of these documents was in the same time with different stakeholders, different groups. So we tried to explain in the same time to our people why we do it, and that we want to do it together. And I have to say, this is not only theory, this is very important. If you want to be successful, you have to understand what you do, and you have to explain to the people what you do. In the other way, it's not possible to do anything. So after that, when you have idea, and this is systematic idea, this is document, this is strategy, you have to describe processes. And after that, you have to create the structure of the government, city government. So actually, we create for this strategy, we create a new structure of city government. We have in Tallinn a new structure of city government, because we see our big goal. And then you start to with different projects in different fields, and you understand that you will do mistakes, nothing to do. But I believe that in the same time with smaller projects, it's very important to think bigger. So we had one big project, free public transportation, green free public transportation. So during last year, we connected 70% of building in Tallinn with central heating system. And now our next big goal is create also renewable energy sources for heating system, central heating system, to use wastewater energy and seawater energy. We don't want to be dependent from the gas. But we want to have our own energy, and it's possible because we have sea, and unfortunately we have waste also, and wastewater. So you have to think bigger also.
Love that. And I love that you mentioned that you also thought about the strategy and the systems that sit behind the goal, not just here's the goal, let's go and put this on people, but actually, do we have an infrastructure set up to be able to make this happen? We're fast running out of time, but I'd love to hear just super quickly from each of you, what's your big goal for everybody in this room, if they just take one thing from as an inspiration from what you've both done in your cities? Mihhail, do you want to start?
Yes, so 30% of territory of Tallinn city is green. So, but we understand that biodiversity is not only to save, we have to develop it. So actually my dream is to have not 30, but in the future 40% of Tallinn city under the green. So I think it will be possible. We have big project as linear parks, as we name it, a pollinator highway, and we believe that, of course, green is not only about trees, but this is also very important. And this is a way how people feel and understand that they will live in the green city.
I love it. Thinking bigger and bolder, taking it that step further. 30% is a lot, but could we have 40%? Nikola, what's your vision for everybody? What would you like people to take from today?
From our experience, it was bold and strong leadership because, as I said, we pioneered many of these green practices. And after that, people were hesitant. There was resistance, but we continued. And I should say that by doing so, by giving an example, community will engage as well. And today we have many of our citizens giving us ideas, wanting to engage. We have so many community-led actions, and we promote and engagement in environmental issues. So I think we by strong leadership, created prerequisites for greener Podgorica and inspired our citizens. That's it.
Thank you so much for really inspiring insights. It is the beginning of a conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them both a very warm round of applause. Thank you so much for joining.